Hello, welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real metaphysical and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your own life. This week, we're going to continue our series on the Goetia with the 57th spirit of the Goetia. Okay. And before we get into this, it's the holidays, everybody. Actually, I think by the time this uploads on YouTube and Rumble, we'll be past Christmas. Can y'all believe it? I can't. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday, had a wonderful holiday. And yeah, just want to wish everybody happy holidays if I can. Also, um, this particular spirit here, okay? I have always pronounced this spirit Osa, okay? Some people pronounce it Ose, and that's fine. I have always pronounced it Osa, and I've looked, actually went spelunking for pronunciations, and those two do seem to be the most popular. So we're going to ride that one on through if we can. If you have a different pronunciation or anything, I'm always interested to see it. You can type it out phonetically. I love that kind of stuff. I don't know why. I'm a nerd. What can I say? But yeah, we're going to go and get into this. The 57th spirit of the Goetia Osa. Okay. Let's get going. We are recording this live, by the way, with the Working Dragon Mystic community, and we will be doing a live community Q&A immediately after recording. If you love the content we're doing, if you enjoy what we're doing, consider checking us out at the online community so that you can join us in those live community Q&As and conversations. Also, if you'd like to support us, there is a supporter section at the community. We do a lot of supporter-only streams and workshops and stuff, as well as more perks for the supporters if you're interested in it. But the base community, absolutely free. Links below. All right. We always start with the appearance here. Okay. The appearance of this one appeareth like a leopard at first, but after a little time putteth on the shape of a man. Now, one of the reasons I've always loved this description is it stands out to me is a lot of the entities in here show up looking one way, and then it usually says something about the magician or the exorcist commands them to take on a different shape. And this is one of the ones they always point at as to, do you have to command? Is it required? And, I've honestly never noticed that, command. I've never had to command for any of them to change shapes. That's just, I don't view asking a question like, could you take on a different shape? I don't consider that a command. That's a question. But this one, it clearly states that this one will show up. It's going to look one way. It'll probably change, and they'll take on the shape of a man. The reason, other than the fact that this is uniquely written, another reason I do find this particular spirit interesting is in the past, when pathworking the Goetia or working with them for clients and whatnot, I have noticed a pattern, and I tried to check out my journals to see if that pattern was a constant or if there's any deviations. My notes aren't good enough for me to know that, but to my memory, every time I can recall working with this entity, they did show up as some kind of a large cat. We began the conversation, they were a cat, and then at some point random, they would transform into a humanoid man, which there was no, that's just that in my memory, that seems how they've always gone. Is that how it always goes? I don't know. I've talked to a few other magicians and they seem to have noticed that same pattern. Your mileage may vary, but it is one of those interesting little nuggets of experience that I've had with this spirit that I wanted to share with you. Okay. Of course, we go into the most common associations with this spirit. Rank would be president. Metal most often associated with this spirit would be Mercury. Planet most often associated with this spirit is Mercury. That's handy. Color most often associated with this spirit would be orange. And the element most often associated with this spirit is air, right? So there we go. Oh, and before we get into this, some people have been asking me about the online school. We do still have the online school. We no longer have the school over at Teachables because they raised prices to the point you couldn't afford it. So we have moved the online school to join in a part of the online community at workingdragonmystic.com. So I know I mentioned it earlier, but I didn't mention the school. And this has been, we get a lot of questions about this. So if you are interested in any of the online courses for Dragon Magic, Evocation, or any of our workshops, all those announcements, all the courses are over there at the Working Dragon Mystic community. And the entire school is part of the supporter section. So for your, I think it's $10 a month for the supporter section. You get all the supporter perks and access to all the courses, which is pretty cool. All right. Right. Now, this one's a fun one when it comes to purposes and how it is used for a lot of people and how it's been discussed over the years. The original purpose in the Goetia would read like this: make one cunning in the liberal sciences, and to give true answers of the divine and secret things, to change a man into any shape that the mage pleaseth, so that he that is so changed will not think any other thing than he is the creature or thing. That one's a tongue twister. um, I, as a Southern redneck, I have enough trouble speaking English well. So when we get into that, these and thous, I really struggle, especially speaking out loud. All right. Now, this is one of the ones, turn someone into anything. When this book is written, okay, there is a lot of controversy around the Goetia. Obviously, it's a lot of people say Solomon wrote it, and we don't see any instant of the Goetia until much, much later after Solomon. And most people don't think it is actually truly has anything to do with Solomon. Some people even question its authenticity as a magical text. And we may do a video about the history of the Goetia. But because of that, a lot of these things are written in riddles and rhymes or blown out of proportion. I do absolutely think this is one of them. In all my years of magic, I've never seen in any way that could be taken literal. Okay, you're not going to turn a man into a dog or frog, as cliches may be. That being said, transformation and change, I do think would play a part here. In fact, as we get into this, I'll show you what I mean. So first off, very first one, bullet point: aid in helping shape your demeanor when around others to allow for great deception. All right. This is pretty straightforward. There's a lot of ways you could implement this. Good and bad. It's a tool. It's a hammer. You can use it how you want. But it is a deception. There's no way around it. So let's say we were to take me, Drake, hillbilly, and drop me in Beverly Hills. And I wanted to fit in, not stand out, not look like a redneck in Beverly Hills. I could work with the spirit to get them to help shape my demeanor, help my mannerisms, smooth out the edges, maybe even hide my accent, and present as someone who more regularly would belong in that area and wouldn't look out of place at all. No one would take a second glance at me. In fact, they would see me as one of their own, if you will. That is the kind of thing this is talking about. You could use it for that. You can use it to make good impressions, those kinds of things. And it works. It could work well. I've heard magicians say it works really great with accents and other things like that. I personally have never used it. I've, for better or worse, have never been embarrassed of who I am. So I've always just strolled in big as I can, just, hey, I'm here. And that's just it. Now, at the same time, have I used this one to be me, but at the same time kind of get the general reader of the room to, I guess, be more open to me? Yes, it would be more how I would have done it. But to each their own. I pass no judgment on how you wish to use it. The next one is help you to be seen as more intelligent, skilled, or even more pleasant to be around than you are. Okay, I know a lot of people who need this one. I'm going to be nice and not give names. But yeah, this straight up. Like, we have all met those people who they drive us batty because, well, let's be honest, we call them stupid. We call them fools. We call them a lot of names, don't we? They could definitely use this to hide that when they're around us, or we could do the same. Um, if I have to go to an event or something where I'm going to be surrounded by computer programmers, let's be honest, they're probably going to think I'm an idiot because I don't do well with computers. Yes, even my butt on YouTube, computers and technology still dislikes me to this day, and that's fine. But I could potentially try to utilize this entity to help me blend in, actually understand what they're saying, actually appear more intelligent. Now, understand this is temporary. Okay, this is a temporary thing. And if you're not doing something, you're going to eventually be revealed for who you are because you're not learning this information, you're not retaining this information. You're not suddenly a computer programmer, you are who you are, right? That illusion, that perception will fall away. Same thing with skills. Like it can make you appear more skilled than you are. If you're a musician and you're trying to get this one particular gig at this one particular club or this one particular spot or whatever, and you have to audition, you could work with the spirit to boost your perceptive skill to try and get you to, I don't know, get that breakout moment or whatever it's called. I don't know. Um, you could potentially do it if you're an artist and you're doing some kind of a showing of some kind to get that extra attention. That extra attention could lead to doors opening, but at some point, somewhere, somebody's going to realize your art and the perceived that they once thought it was isn't the same. That's not necessarily bad because that initial attention could get good attention to your actual work. Also, understand you can develop, you can build your skill set. And a few magicians have actually stated that it's easier to build into something that can be perceived. And if that's the case, you could technically use this to put yourself into that perceived spot and continue to work your skills up to the point where you actually reach that spot. That's an interesting thought. I've never tested that one, but it is an interesting thought there. Um, and of course, there's just the more pleasant to be around, right? Okay, let's be honest. There's a few of us that could use that. Generally, I am pretty rough around the edges. A lot of people think I'm very charismatic and I'm fun to be around. Great. For those people, thank you. There's also a lot of people in this world who absolutely detest me because I'm rough around the edges. Okay. And that's fine and dandy. Now, if I was about to have to walk into a boardroom or a business meeting or something with, let's say, a room full of the people who they find me unpleasant, this would be a great spirit to work with. It really would. That way I could just be me, but it would make, I just go in comfort. I'll be more pleasant to be around for those people. I don't generally care what people think about me, but some people do, and that's fine. No judgment again. I'm not saying just because I don't care that's the better way to be. It's caused me plenty of problems in my life. I'm just okay with it. But if you're that person, that is a great use. It really is. It really is, especially if you're just getting into a social setting or anything, or you're trying to socialize, get out, maybe new in town, just moved. It can be a really great way to meet friends and everything. Because if you have that initial pleasantry to be around, you can get to know a person, they can get to know you. And then as that illusion of pleasantry fades, they've learned to know you. And now you have a friend who knows you, right? It's just that initial buffer makes it easier to talk and get to know one another. I think that's kind of a good use for it. The final one, actually, there's not a lot of bullet points for this entity, but aid in breaking old or bad habits and building new habits to help you. Okay. This honestly works great. This entity does do well here. And I would say if you watched our video on alchemical identity or mental alchemy and how you can use that to build habits or break habits, you could definitely work with the spirit and add into that. Okay. And if you haven't, check it out. It's in our video listing. I will even see if I can remember to link it in the show notes. But this entity will help you to perceive yourself as someone who doesn't have that habit or someone who does have that habit. This entity can literally help you to perceive yourself in that light, thus causing you to live with that habit. And the cool thing about this is if you live with that habit, if you're working with the spirit, you go through the actions, you go through the life, and you see yourself in that light, yes, that illusion will start to fade. but you've literally walked yourself through. You've been living as someone with that habit, and done long enough, you will actually create that habit. Or in the case of breaking a habit, let's say you're a smoker. Um, Not calling anyone out here. Just let's say my daddy was a smoker, smoked all his life. If you're a smoker and you would to stop smoking, you could literally use this to see yourself as someone who is a non-smoker and use that illusion to live your life. And what would that look like? Well, essentially, you're going to be someone who no longer sees yourself as a smoker. And when the craving hits, that's going to be a weird feeling now. Instead of, oh, I could use a cigarette. It's going to be weird because now you're going to be like, why do I want a cigarette? I don't smoke. You know what I mean? It's kind of that sensation. It'd be like me wanting a tomato. I absolutely detest tomatoes. They gag me. I know a Southerner who don't like tomatoes. It's un-American, but I don't like them. I really don't. My mom, she's threatened to disown me a time or four, but so far she hasn't. But I don't like them. I just don't like them. So you would similarly have a aversion to the cigarette, even when the craving's there, and your brain would be like, I don't like these. It's a really interesting thing. And if you're trying to break a habit, I would give it a try. Give it a try. Add it to your arsenal at the very least. Is it a surefire thing? No, because if you don't manage to keep up the illusion long enough to reprogram yourself permanently, you're going to drift back into bad habits. So you want to make sure to do it. I would actually mix this with, like I said, the alchemy of identity that we talked about a couple weeks ago. All right, there we go. That is straight up it. For those watching live, you saw the sigil. We got it here as the thumbnail. For those on YouTube and Rumble, we'll make sure it's up here on the screen somewhere so you all can see it. Again, everybody, consider checking us out on the Working Dragon Mystic community. You can find that at workingdragonmystic.com. You can find pretty much everything we do over there. But if you don't want to go to workingdragonmystic.com, you can also find the links below here in the show notes. I hope to see you there. We got a lot of great things coming in the new year. We have an entire, I want to say it's a 6-month path working for the supporters. It's going to be for the supporters only. We're going to be working through a 6-month detailed path working, as well as teaching during that 6 month how to build your own path workings in your practice, should you want to, basically using anything you want to build a path working. So it's going to be a great little time for everyone. I think it's going to be a lot of help and a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. All right. And until next time, everyone, I'm Drake. This has been Working Dragon Mystic. I hope you do take some time to check out this spirit and the other spirits in the Goetia. See if it might be something you're interested in working with and give it a try. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye and happy holidays.